As Alan said, the remarkable facts about the Berlin Conference and the colonization of Africa is that it sprang on the back of the earlier immorality of the slave trade. There was in fact no gap, as the seeds of colonization were being sown even as abolition was being discussed. What we see is an unbroken chain as the Society for the Abolition of the Slave Trade was formed in England on the 22nd of May, 1787. The Association for Promoting the Discovery of the Interior Parts of Africa was formed a year later on the 9th of June, 1788. The Sierra Leone Company received parliamentary sanction in the 1790-1791 parliamentary session, with its mission being to colonize a small portion of the coast of Africa. And that came to pass on the 1st of January, 1808, when Sierra Leone became Britain's first colony in West Africa. It was the early moves of the Sierra Leone Company into the interland that sparked French rivalry. When in January 1881, the Sierra Leone administration attempted to stimulate trade with the interior by a mission led by a British official, and not as previously, merely an African, quotes, political messenger, this was seen by the French, not only in Senegal, but in Paris, as conclusive proof of British designs upon the upper Niger Basin. The British plan for taking more of West Africa were in fact laid out for the discerning in Thomas Fowle Buxton's book, The African Slave Trade and Its Remedy, which was published in 1837. Stripped of the emotive language, the remedy that Buxton was prescribing was colonization. He did not call it by name so as not to excite the jealousies of the French and other European powers, who were already suspicious of British motives for abolition. Buxton wrote, "To these portions of Africa in particular, Great Britain owes a heavy debt of justice for the many years of misery which she inflicted upon them by making them the seats of the slave trade. A debt which she can only hope to repay by carrying out the salutary measures which have proved so successful in the case of the Gold Coast." But note these words: "But as the injury was not limited to these localities only, so her redress should not terminate here. In order that her compensation may be ample and her remedy efficient, they must be applied nearer the sources of the evil." He continued, "Our efforts, as far as they have gone, have been successful, and although our principal object has not been attained by them, we have proved what may be effected by granting our protection, by encouraging commerce and agriculture, and by diffusing the blessings of Christianity. By adopting a similar policy in positions more favorable, and in connection with the other measures which I propose, I am led to believe we shall effectually check the slave trade and produce a revolution in Africa still more signal than that which has been already experienced in our present settlements. That was the cover story, the narrative of abolition that was going to be used as a vehicle for spreading the remedy widely. Why did the Berlin Conference happen? Now, I've been greatly assisted in preparing this paper by a compendium of essays contained in a book titled Bismarck, Europe and Africa. The Berlin Africa Conference, 1884 to 1885, and the onset of partition. It was published in 1988 by the German Historical Institute, London. And what follows, I quote extensively from some of the articles that I read. The first great partition of what they called the, quotes, unoccupied parts of the world, end quotes, was the papal bull Inter Caetera, which Pope Alexander VI issued to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain on the 3rd of May, 1493. What did that papal bull do? It divided what they considered the uninhabited parts of the world. That was the Americas, Africa, India, between Spain and Portugal. That is what explains why Spain had virtually the whole of the Americas, except in Brazil, while Portugal's portion was largely Africa. You see very little Spanish presence, footprints in Africa. That was the reason.